Namaste. Thank you. Mic checking.
Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome for today's lecture program, which is held in collaboration with the Mythic Society. We have several Mythic Society managing committee members and also some of the executive committee members of World Culture. So a very warm welcome again to all of you. I request today's guest speaker, Professor Kausik Gangopadhyay, to take the stage. And I also request the President of Mythic Society, Sri V. Nagaraj, to also come on the dais, and also Professor C.S. Arvinda from Indian Institute of World Culture. He is the Vice President. So all the three of you, please get onto the stage. Thank you. today's program is also web telecast live on the YouTube and Facebook as usual. So I also welcome the audience who are there online. Before I introduce Professor Gangopadhyay, I would like to give a quick background for today's lecture. In fact, the book, The Majoritarian Myth, was published in January of this year, just a few days before the general elections was announced. And for the last couple of months, we all have been witness to couple of words. Any channel you put up, any news print you go through, two words come up. One is the wrath of the majority and the oppressed minority. These are two words which comes to us very instantly, with every news anchors talking about it again and again. So we thought that we will hold today's lecture with the election getting done and dusted today, and everybody anticipating the exit poll tonight, and also in the next couple of days we will also have the results which will be announced. So with bated breath we are all anticipating that. So in this backdrop we thought that we will hold this particular lecture, and the book itself talks about this extensively. So the book's name, The Majoritarian Myth, has been authored by Professor Kausik Gangopadhyay. So I had the fortune of going through this book recently, and that's how it started. And Professor Kausik takes us through a fascinating journey of geopolitical events which happened and which is happening in various parts of the globe, be it in US, Europe, and also closer to home, what events took place in the last few years, and currently which is the topic which is attracting attention on a political scale. He compares the situation within our country and also provides a stunning data and statistics. So he is an economist, so he makes use of data and statistics to sort of come out with a theory in terms of understanding what this myth is about and how this has been utilized in various countries and also in India. And he comes out with a term which is used in economics, the LTSE, the linear theory of social evolution. So that he uses it to weave through this particular aspect of majoritarianism and minoritarianism. So the book has come in for rich reviews, which people would have also observed from various intellectual and academicians like Dr. Sanjeev Sanyal, Dr. Arvind Ranganathan, Arvind Neelakantan, Anand Ranganathan, in fact, Anand Ranganathan and Arvind Neelakantan. So with this, we thought that we will hold this particular lecture session. A brief about Kausik Gangopadhyay. He is an economist who did his bachelor's from Indian Statistical Institute. He did his master's and PhD from the University of Rochester. He is a professor at the Indian Institute of Management, Kozikhode, and he has published many articles in reputed international journals and has co-edited the book published by the well-known Springer Vergel. His columns appear regularly in news outlets like DNA, First Post, Swarajya, Mathrubhumi and others. He lives in Kozikhode and with his wife and two children. I request Professor Gangopadhyay to address us today. Before that, I just want to make one info that the book is available at 300 rupees today and will get signed by the author after the event. So with this, I would like to hand over to Professor Gangopadhyay. Thank you, sir.
So first of all, I express my gratitude to the Indian Institute of. This one?
Sorry about that.
Dr. Nagaraj.
Only Nagaraj.
Shall I try?
That Napoli is a news outlet mic he has put it on. You can use the thing. We can also put up a stand for you or use the
Stand ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆದು.
stand.
Because this would be wavering. Yeah. So, yeah.
I can go to the podium. Suppose that's easier, no?
Podium.
You can use the podium, or we will also provide a stand here itself.
Whichever you prefer. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
On it.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Huh?
Yeah. Just a little bit closer so that.
Yeah. Now it's better, no? Good morning, everyone. I express my sincere wishes, best wishes to whoever have come. My pronouns to my elderly ones, and my good wishes to the younger and persons. What I would like to say first, I want to express my gratitude to the Indian Institute of World Culture and also the Mythic Society for hosting me here, for giving opportunity to my ideas. I sincerely thank them. I think Nagarajji as president, uh, I like to express my gratitude. Uh, Arakali Venkatesji, he was very instrumental in guiding me and all the minute details and everything, and taking care of the hospitality. I also thank him enormously. Now this book, it is a passion for me for last 10 years. So maybe I'll just try to give a background why the book is about, and then I'll go there. So in the current society, present society, not only in India, but all over the world, there is a sharp rise in polarization, and there is a lack of dialogue, as we all see today. I will use a vulgar oversimplification. I'll call it political right, political left. These terms are there are issues with the terms, but I think for everyone's understanding, it will be easier to use the terms. So what happens in a typical conversation? How does it happen? So what happens? The right says to the left that you are not really being fair to everyone, you are not being symmetric to everyone. You have a bias towards some people and not so biased for other people. And the left says yes, because we have a framework, and this framework guides us. We are doing it for the best of our interest towards the society. And the right generally doesn't like to see that framework or doesn't like the framework. So he says, well, I don't really see anything in that framework. You are just bigoted. And then the left says, no, you are an idiot because you are failing to see the framework. And of course, both are blaming each other, not for intellectual reasons, but for the attitude. And then of course there can be no dialogue when you do not have a goodwill for the other person, right? That's not how it works. So what I tried to do in my book, I tried to create a conversation, space of conversation for both of them. And that is why I address both the issues. First one is the idea of the framework. The right should also just not throw the data. They should also they should have the idea of the framework, because framework gives a lot of clarity in many situations. And secondly, I looked into the existing framework, and I have some critical observations on that with my own framework. I'm not saying my framework is great, I'm just one person, but it actually exposes the obvious problems in the framework. Now, what is the basis for judgment, whether a framework is right or wrong? My basis is science. Anything should be scientific, otherwise it is not good. And what is scientific? Is a framework only scientific? The answer is unfortunately no. A framework does not make anything scientific. The centerpiece of science is data, observation, right? The reality. How do you perceive the reality? Just because you have a framework doesn't make it scientific. If that is so, then religions would have been also called sciences. That is typically not done in the scientific tradition. So I start my talk with an example. Italian, I would say this is the beginning of science in Europe. Europe was probably the darkest place on earth in the 15th century. And they rose to great heights because of the scientific revolution there. I think the pioneer of that revolution is Galileo Galilei. So what did Galileo Galilei start with? So there was an Aristotelian framework. If you drop a lighter thing and a heavier thing, Aristotle says if it is 10 times heavier, it will fall 10 times faster, right? And when I was a child, I said, wow, this must be the case. And I throw a paper and a stone. Of course, the paper is falling very, very slowly. Stone is going very, very fast, right? I was an ignorant child. But this was believed by people for more than 1 millennia. Aristotle was more than 1 millennia, maybe 1.5 millennia before Galileo. But Galileo understood that reality has to be tested with very many versions. And what he did, he went up in the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropped two balls, one 1 pound, 100 pounds, and then he threw them, and both the balls almost simultaneously, a 100-pound ball hit it little faster, but not much, and the 1 pound fall little later just. Yeah, so this shows Aristotle had a framework, but it was not scientific. The data is negating it, right? Just keep it in mind when I will talk about the framework of majoritarianism. Second piece of science is just because you have a goodwill, that cannot be construed as scientific. Again, I give an example. In the mid-19th century, a lot of women in the Europe used to die while giving birth to children in the hospitals. One of the prominent hospitals, I mean probably the best hospitals of the world that time, was Vienna General Hospital. And even there, 1 in 6 women used to die while giving a birth to child. The general goodwill thought we should not blame the doctors. Right? That's a part of goodwill. That patients should not blame the doctor, because otherwise the trust will be gone and it will go to better. It will lead to greater misery, right? So that thing persisted. Everyone was looking for causes elsewhere, not to the doctors. And here came a Hungarian obstetrician. His name is Summitwise. His name is I think Igor Summitwise. So what he did, Ignaz Summitwise. So what he did, he looked into collected the data meticulously, and he observed that when women are giving birth even in roadside, most unhygienic places, to the midwives, the mortality rate is way below. When the doctor is putting in the hand, the mortality rate goes up. And why is it that? So basically he came to the conclusion that we need to follow the sterilization procedure, otherwise doctors are operating on some other patient and the germ miscarried, right? And then we got a birth. So I am just trying to give the point, again it is again a very important scientific discovery. It happened because we let the goodwill go. We just wanted to just having a goodwill in my mind without any scientific foundation. That is again not a good one. Now let's go to the theory of majoritarianism. What is the theory? So the idea is, in a society, the majority always oppresses the minority. You may not see this always obviously, but it is going on. Because it is going on like that, for the sake of harmony, peace, tolerance, it is important to not talk about the atrocities minority commits on majorities and highlight the atrocities majority commits on the minorities. So I took some data and I use a global news service database which actually computes all data from the globe. Now there are two incidents of big intolerance in India, 2015. In one incident, one Muslim gentleman, 50 something, from Dadri, Uttar Pradesh, his name is, I'm very bad with the names, it is there in my book. He was killed because Ali's possession of beef, right? That's the, huh? Not Junaid. Junaid was in the train. It was another name. Yeah. Junaid is Haryana. And I think Akhlaq. And now I got the name. It's Akhlaq. And one Hindu youth, his name is Prasant Pujari, he was also hacked to death. Now if you look at same year, almost not 2-3 months later, if you look at the number of news articles, the Akhlaq's article attracted maybe 20 times more than Pujari's articles. And I am not saying those who have done it, they have done it out of any mischief or lack of bad faith. I am not saying that. As I am saying, I will hold that both left and right, they have goodwill, and that's the promise of the entire thing. I will not hold anyone having any bad will. Right? So I am just trying to demonstrate what is the idea of majoritarianism, how it manifests. And if you look at the headlines or concerning Akhlaq, it was more about Nazism coming to India and genocides are happening and all these sort of things. I am not exaggerating, these are the words there. And if you look at the articles concerning Pujari, it was more of a small law and order situation. Pujari himself has to blame to an extent and all these kind of things. Again, they are out doing it out of their goodwill because they believe in this theory of majoritarianism in the interest of tolerance. And this is not individual examples. If you look at the genocides, Kashmiri Pandit genocides, right? Biggest exodus of people within India post-partition days.